today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Republic Commando Scorch for the Saga collection. Probably one of the more iconic action figures that was released in that line, and he was the only Republic Commando out of Delta Squad that was released single-carded at the time. If you wanted to get hold of Boss, Sev, or Fixer, you had to get them in the set that I think was a Toys R Us exclusive at the time. And that was a pretty hard set to get a hold of, at least for me, and I'm sure it was for many others, just judging by the availability on eBay. I didn't have a Toys R Us near me, so my chance of getting it were pretty slim. And to be honest, I don't know if I really ever saw that set in person at the time. I have seen pictures of it on eBay nowadays. And I do know that the sculpt of the other three Commandos is basically the same exact one as this one. But later on, we did get a updated set in 2011 with the Shadow of the Dark Side packaging of the Republic Commandos, and that one, as far as I can tell, is definitely far superior in every way between the four Commandos. I do have that set, and I will review that at some point. But today, I just wanted to give the Saga Collection Scorch here his own little video. And it's kind of a unique Saga Collection figure in its own way, and as you can see by the stand of how glossy of a silver it is, and based upon the hologram, this is the Ultimate Galactic Hunt Scorch, which at the time was considered the rarest action figure probably in the Saga Collection. Now, rare doesn't necessarily mean it was expensive, because similar to like the Revenge of the Sith Count Dooku, where he was considered like the all-rare action figure to find in the wild, Scorch was the same way, but if you got on eBay, you could find them for no problem. I actually got this back in 2013, I think. Yeah, it was about 2013, and I only paid maybe $15 for it. The package was a little beat up at the time, but I intended on opening it anyway, so I was perfectly fine with it, and I think $15 for an action figure like this was perfectly fair. And he was actually the first Republic Commando I got in my collection, I think. If I think back to it, yeah, because I didn't get the Republic Commando set until 16, actually, and then, of course, the Black Series ones recently, and then, like, Feast Grotto and all of them. So, yeah, this was the very first Republic Commando I owned, and he's been in my collection for 10 years now at this point, and I'm very happy to have him. He's unique in his own way. At some point, I will do another video comparing the Scorch with the updated one. But I'll save that for a different day. So let's just go ahead and take a closer look at him. So I'm really impressed with the amount of weathering and detail they put into this guy. And I really like the bulkiness about him too. I think they got this down pat. Definitely looks like a great sculpt and very comparable to what we saw in the Republic Commando video game. One thing I'll note about the package is I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, in the background, it's based upon that scene when they're in the Acclimator, which is the middle section of the game, and they go against the, what was it, the Trandoshan slavers, and it was invaded by a Lucre Hulk and things like that. Very interesting mission. Might be my favorite from the entire game, actually. I really like the streaks he has on his helmet there. It almost looks like he did that on purpose, like his blood streaks or something like that. It makes him look a lot more menacing, more intimidating. I really like that. Same with his armor here. Has some splotches and splatters and things like that on it. Looks more like dirt though. And a little bit on his legs as well. So even though this is an Ultimate Galactic Hunt action figure, as far as I know, there's no difference between the figures at all between the standard release and this one. The Ultimate Galactic Hunt was kind of a gimmick, and all it did was just have like a extra shiny stand and then a silver hologram, and then of course it continued into the 30th anniversary with gold coin versus a silver coin. But as far as the figures are concerned, same exact thing. A little quick backstory in the Scorch, if you don't know much about him. So obviously he's part of Delta Squad, one of the main Commando squads featured in the Star Wars expanding universe. You also have like Omega Squad, and I think there's like Alpha Squad. I think they pretty much go through all the Greek letters actually. But Delta Squad's the more prevalent one, and Scorch here is the fourth member of the bunch, and he's basically the jokester. He's the one that makes light of every situation and keeps the company morale up, basically. And the voice actor for him is the same guy who does Carthel Nasi in Knights of the Old Republic. And I think he's perfect for this role. Has a lot of very iconic lines throughout that game. It's one of my personal favorite Star Wars games. I first played it back in 2010, and I've beat it like 3 times since. I didn't have an original Xbox back in 2005, so I wasn't able to really play it then. But I ended up getting it on computer. But I do recall the lead up to it, the trailers for it that came out before the release of the game. It was incredible at the time. Didn't know how good we had it back in the day. So despite how great of an action figure this is, I will admit he's kind of lacking in the articulation department. He does have a ball jointed head here, but then he has swivel shoulders, which isn't that big of a deal. I think it's alright for this guy. Since he's kind of the heavy weapons expert, he's going to be more stiff moving around anyway. But he does have hinged elbows, which is nice. And then he does have swivel wrists. And I think it's the same both arms, yep. He does have a joint at the torso, and then this is where he's kind of limited. So he has swivel hips, and then nothing in the knees, and then nothing in the ankles. So he's pretty much limited that to this stance. However, even without a stand, I think he stands pretty good on his own, as you can see. So even though he's kind of an unusual or kind of an unstable stance, I suppose, it's not too bad for him. So even though he's kind of lacking in the articulation, you can pretty much get him in most of the poses you're going to want him in. In terms of accessories, so he has his backpack here, which is unique to him. And it is removable. Stays into place pretty good. It's a little loose, but I've never had a problem with it falling out or anything like that. Now, something unique to this Scorch that we don't have on the updated one, if I recall correctly, is he has his canister shells here, which is used for his anti-armor gun here. Like I mentioned, he is considered like the heavy weapons expert, so of course he's going to have a lot of ammo with him. And it just plugs in on the side of his leg there. On the Black Series action figure that I'm going to be showing off next, it's just permanently attached to his leg. So this is the only one where you can actually take those canister shells off. They stay into place pretty good. Then we have his anti-armor weapon here, which is basically the exact same thing as the Republic Commando blaster with extension. And what I like about this weapon especially is that it's pretty much to scale with what it really should be. If you know anything about the Black Series Commandos, you would know that a lot of those weapons are not to scale properly at all. In fact, they're pretty much about the same size as this one, which is really unfortunate. And it looks terrible, quite frankly. But thankfully, Hasbro got it right with the 3 3/4 inch figures. And I imagine for the other 3 Commandos, it's pretty similar with them as well. Usually, like Sev has the sniper rifle, but then Fixer and Boss have about the same standard weapon. So that's the accessories for Scorch, and then of course he has a stand. Now because this is the Ultimate Galactic Hunt, I think they pretty much just gave them a Star Wars stand. It is possible that because he's technically an expanding universe character, they just gave him a Star Wars logo and that was it. I'd have to go back and see about the standard stand, which the standard one is the exact same stand that you get with all the other action figures, where it's just light gray or darkish gray. But in this case, it's very shiny, and the lettering's in black, which it's really hard for it to show up on there, but you can kind of see it at certain angles. Republic Commando Scorch. And let's see if he still fits on this stand. Pretty sure he does. Yeah. That looks pretty good for him. For being one of the best action figures in the line, I think he definitely deserves the best. And for his hologram here, I'm pretty sure it's still randomized for these figures, but in this case, instead of a red or blue hologram, you have a just silver, which is pretty interesting. Instead of a hologram, it looks more like a statue, I guess. And in this case, it's Queen Amidala, which is really nice to have. This was the very first Queen Amidala hologram figure that I got. There's a lot of impressive detailing in it. I think it shows up a lot more on the silver paint, a lot of the sculpting work behind it. She does have the rebel symbol, oddly enough. There's that nice detailing in her gown there. It would have been nice if they did a clone trooper hologram back in the day, but they actually didn't do that. They just did the rebel fleet trooper and the stormtrooper, and that was it. No battle droids, no clones. Yeah, that's pretty much all the accessories that Scorch comes with here. Just for comparison purposes, I'll bring out his Black Series counterpart real quick. You can see the, what is this, 17 years of evolution of them side by side here. 17, 18 years now. And it goes back to what I was saying about the blasters here. It's this is the Black Series scale blaster. Look at that. It's pretty much about the same size as that. It's puny. It's awful. And yeah, I'll probably be putting the Saga collection review up first, and then of course I'll have the Black Series one coming up next. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, they look pretty good side by side. I'm really impressed. I think the weathering is definitely much better on this armor, and I really like those streaks on his helmet. This one doesn't have it at all. I suppose I could add it. I could actually take some red paint and make it look like blood or something, and put streaks on his face. I think that'd be really intimidating. I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to get into that stuff because I'd be concerned I ruin the action figure, so I just don't end up not doing it, or I'll have someone else do it for me. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about the Saga collection Scorch here. So would I recommend them for your collection? I totally would. If you only could pick one Republic Commando for your collection, even if you didn't want the rest of Delta Squad, I think this is the action figure to get, and he's still fairly affordable. Whether you get the standard figure or the Ultimate Galactic Hunt one here. Like I said, at the time, this Ultimate Galactic Hunt figure was considered the rarest Saga collection figure. Nobody could ever find them in the wild, and if you did, it was considered like finding the Ark of the Covenant or something like that. Through the years on eBay, the prices of him been pretty low in comparison, and even compared to the updated one, it's definitely far cheaper. As far as the other Commandos are concerned, since they didn't get a standard release, they're typically more expensive. But I don't know why Hasbro did a single release for this guy, and then he was repacked into that Delta Squad pack as well. So he is the most produced Commando of the 4 at the time. I don't know why they picked this guy for a single card and then the rest didn't. But oh well. But if you had to pick one Republic Commando for your collection, this is the one to get. It's fairly affordable. I think the sculpting work is excellent on him. Accessories are excellent, and he's about as articulated as you could ask for him. I know some people probably will complain about the articulation a little bit, especially since he doesn't have any knee articulation. I think you can get him just about any pose you'd want him in. And being a heavy weapons guy, he's going to have a little bit more of that Weaver stance to him anyway, because, you know, he's carrying a lot of heavy loads around with him. The stuff's not light. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be lots more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you have not done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.